I'm Joshua Bardwell, and you're going to learn something today. You're going to learn something about parallel charging. In a previous video, I explained why it is okay to combine small batteries and large batteries on a parallel charging array. The label of this battery is long gone, but it's a 2750 milliamp hour 3-cell, and this is a 450 milliamp hour 3-cell. And some people said, well, you could prove it. Theory is not good enough for me. I demand experimental rigor. And so I'm going to demonstrate to you what happens when you do this. Now the first thing we have to do, and this is always true, is we have to check the voltage of these packs to see that they are safe to plug in. So this one is at 3.745 volts-ish per cell. Did we check all the cells? We should check all the cells, really. Yeah, so they're all at about 3.74 volts. You may not be able to see that. You just take my word for it. And this one is at 3.78, 379. So the guideline that we use is 0.1 volts per cell. It's 3.79, and 3.74 is less than 0.1 volts per cell. So these are safe to plug in together. So now, which one was higher and which one was lower? The next thing I want to show you is what I call the equalization current. Now the equalization current is when you plug in batteries with a different voltage, they will exchange current to equalize their voltage. In the same way that in my example with the tanks of water, when you connect the two tanks of water with a hose, the one that's higher will let water down into the one that's lower until they're equal height. So this is the higher voltage one, so it's going to discharge into the lower voltage one, so that's okay. So I will plug in the main discharge lead, and then I'm going to use my handy dandy clamp meter. This thing is so valuable because it lets you measure current flow without having to disconnect a wire. You could just clamp around the wire and measure current flow. It is a fantastic tool. It's about $40, and it is a DC capable clamp meter, which is really nice. They used to be way more expensive, and they didn't used to be able to do DC, only AC, but now they can. There's a link to this in the video description, and it is also on my Ultimate FPV shopping list, which is where I have all the tools and stuff that I think is essential to this hobby. So this one isn't essential, but it sure is nice to have if you've got $40 burning a hole in your pocket. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to plug this in, and we're going to see how much current flows as these batteries equalize their current. Can you see that? You can. Okay, here we go. It looks like we had a peak of about 1 amp, and now it is slowly going down, 0.63, 0.64. So this was not a very big peak. When we're dealing with larger packs, because the internal resistance of the pack limits its ability to discharge, even if you were to short circuit it, it could only, I mean, it wouldn't be good, but larger packs will discharge more current, and these batteries were very, very close to the same voltage. I've seen discharge currents of 8 or 10 amps, at least at the very beginning, and I have a separate video, parallel charging equalization current. There's a link in the video description if you want to see a more extreme example. Now, if I were to start charging right this minute, we would have so many amps coming out of the charger and into the packs, but the numbers would be skewed by the fact that this pack is still pushing current into this one. So I'm going to wait for the voltages to equalize more until I start charging, and then we'll be able to see how much current's going into the little pack versus how much charge is going into the big pack. All right, here we are. The discharge current is down to about 50 milliamps. That's we'll call that effectively 0. And then what we're going to do is we're going to start charging. Now, the rate at which we should start charging, this is about a 2750 here, so 2.75 amps. And this is a 450 here, so 450 milliamps. 2.75 plus 450 is 3.2. Pretty close. That's reading a little high. So we'll go back down to 3.4 on the ISDT, which should be pretty close to 3.2. There we go. So now we should, the math is easy now. It should be just 1C. So we should see about 2.7 amps going in here. We got 2.45. And we should see about 450 milliamps going in here. Although, again, remember we have a 50 milliamp discrepancy. 0.9. So what's the conclusion here? Well, I said in the video that you shouldn't put a very, very small and a very, very large battery together because the normal variance in current flow could be too much for the batteries. We can see that these batteries are not getting exactly proportional current to their size. This one is getting about a 2C charge rate. This one is getting just a little bit less than a 1C charge rate. But that small percentage here is making a big percentage difference here. Although a 2C charge rate is not unhealthy and you shouldn't really have any problems. That is one reason why when I parallel charge, I do limit my overall charge rate to about 1C. Because there's always going to be a little bit of natural variance, then you don't want to get into a situation where you're accidentally charging a pack at like 5C, which still could be okay as long as the pack is healthy, but if the pack were unhealthy, you get yourself into trouble. So here we are just a little bit into the charge cycle. We're 10 minutes in. Everything has sort of settled out, and you can see we've got 2.7 milliamps, or 2.7 amps going into the big pack, almost exactly a 1C charge rate, and into the little pack, we've got 487 milliamps. Again, almost exactly a 1C charge rate. And this will now continue until the end of the charge cycle when they will be all reaching 4.2 volts at exactly the same time. So that's the takeaway. At the beginning of the cycle, when the voltages have not yet perfectly equalized and everything is still sort of settling out, you can get a small difference in the proportionality of the charge rate. So the smaller pack might take more, the larger pack might take less, but very soon everything equalizes and the batteries take current pretty much proportional to their size. So there you go. That is going to do it for this video. I have now proven experimentally what I promised you I would show you. Happy flying.